Okay. Is there a motion to go? We're back on the agenda, which are appointments. So I'd like to announce the appointment of Monica Taylor as a member of the Human Rights and Diversity Committee. We appreciate her efforts to volunteer, and we look forward to her contributing to that committee. We also need a resolution to appoint Sarah Peck to the Traffic Committee for a term of 1 year, as recommended by the nominating committee. Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. I also need a motion to appoint Barbara Marcello as office assistant to the Village of Dobbs Ferry.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
On that, the resolution for Barbara, the effective date would need to be changed to Tuesday, February 20th, because the 19th is a holiday.
So what date? I'm sorry.
To Tuesday, February 20th.
Okay. So is there a motion as amended to February 20th, 2024? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Welcome to the village, Barbara. Is there a motion to appoint Justin Gunther as a mutual aid member of the Dobbs Ferry Fire Department? We have received a letter from the fire department saying that he is qualified to be appointed as such. Is there a motion? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously.
I'm sorry, Mayor, the
Courtesy
camera
of the floor. Is there
is
anybody here who
not
wants to
on.
speak for courtesy of the floor?
Mayor, the camera's
What?
not on in the boardroom, please.
We're here from the Affordable Housing Task Force. We can speak now or later. We
Speak
wanted
now.
to. Okay.
Speak now.
Or forever.
Can you turn on the camera,
My
please?
name is Tracy Barron, and this is Rob Lane, and we're the co-chairs of the Affordable Housing Task Force. I think you all know us. And we just wanted to say a few words in support of and to provide some context and background to resolution number 5 on your agenda tonight, which is would be to issue an RFQ to solicit possible partners to build affordable housing on potentially up to 3 village-owned parcels. So that's why we're here tonight. Just as a reminder, we talk about affordable housing a lot. The main way to address affordable housing, the affordable housing crisis, is to increase supply. The problem is not enough supply and a lot of demand. So anything we can do to add to the supply of housing in Dobbs Ferry, especially affordable housing, is a great idea. This is why our task force was established back in 2019, I believe it was. So just some background as to how we got here. If you'll recall, we put together a big community forum in 2021. That was in the depths of COVID, so it was by Zoom. And we solicited lots of opinions and ideas about how we could address housing in Dobbs Ferry. One of the things we asked participants was to brainstorm with us on where in the village could we add some housing. And we got a lot of ideas. Our committee went and researched all of those, but a couple of them included the village-owned lot on Palisade Street, which is now a surface-level parking lot, and 2 little small infill vacant lots on Cedar Street, also village-owned. So in around November of 2022, the Pace Law School Land Use Law Center with Tiffany and Jessica, who you've heard from before, put together a training and workshop, and they invited us from Dobbs Ferry, Trustee Patino was with us, to come along with 5 or 6 other municipalities to bring ideas of potential places to build affordable housing in their municipalities and sort of workshop it through to see, like, how does it work? How do you figure out if it's feasible? How do you start that process? And that was a multiple day training, and we did that. Again, that was 2022. We learned a ton. It's very sort of kind of theoretical, but each municipality was matched with architects, planners, lawyers, affordable housing officials to sort of show us, this is how you think about what funding is available. This is how you plot out what you might be able to fit on a certain piece of land, and so forth. What we learned is it's very complicated. and expensive, but we did come away thinking, you know what, this might work, and it's worth exploring. So we then came back to the board seeking permission to bring potentially a handful of affordable housing developers to take a look at the site down on Palisade and the Cedar Street sites to just give us their kind of impressions. Do they think this could work? Would they be interested? Do they think it's something we should think about pursuing? And so we did that. And here we are. Just a reminder of when we talk about affordable housing, what do we mean? Affordable housing in this context, I mean, you can use it in just the English. Your housing is affordable if you can afford it. But what we're talking about is housing where the rents are set to specific levels of affordability, and they must stay that way for typically 50 years. Folks apply through a lottery, which is run by a nonprofit partner with Westchester County, and they have to show proof of income eligibility. And income limits are pegged to the Westchester County area median income, what we call AMI. So for example, just to give you a sense, for 2023, the area median income in Westchester County for a family of 4 is $146,800. That's median. So let's say, for example, we are aiming to have some apartments available for families at 50% of AMI. For a family of 4, that would be a maximum income of $73,400 for a family of 4. We are way far away from knowing what the levels of affordability would be, but that just gives you an example. If we set it at 60%, just to give you an idea, for a family of 4, that comes out to $88,100. And just for some context, the income limit for a family to qualify for free school lunches, free school meals, is $39,000. So this is, for these, you're talking about sort of middle income, not very low income folks. Enough of the developers that we met with thought that this could be feasible. And so this is based on their sort of back of the envelope kind of calculations and thoughts. And based on that, and based on the fact that there is significant funding now available from the county and the state, we sort of encouraged the village to consider issuing an RFQ. And so here we are, and a reminder, an RFQ just means we are asking potential partners to share with us their qualifications for potentially working on a project like this. It doesn't bind us to hire any of them, it doesn't bind us to pursue this project, but it just lets us know who's out there and who would be qualified. It's really just a chance for us to hear how and whether these folks think whether affordable housing would be feasible on one or more of these properties. We do not see any downside in issuing the RFQ, and it would really, we think, give us some very important information. So we would encourage you to vote yes, and happy to answer any questions if you have any. Did I miss anything?
Well, Rob Lane, 228 Judson Avenue, and also on that was a great recap. I'm glad you did that. I'm not sure I would remember all that. The only thing that I really want to emphasize is that we are at the beginning of this process. The reason we're issuing an RFQ is because this is very complicated. If we knew exactly what we wanted, we would issue an RFP and actually try to get proposals from developers. An RFQ means that we're getting somebody who's going to partner with us in return for the idea that he would ultimately be, he or she, they would be the developer. They have to manage the entire process with us. And one of the key criteria by which we're going to be evaluating whether or not who the qualified partner is how they plan on running the public process. They all have to demonstrate that they have done this successfully in other communities, because there's always a certain amount of opposition. There's always it's very complicated. There can be a lot of confusion. And so one of the key criteria is going to be, well, where have you done this before? What kind of outreach did you do? What was your public process for answering questions? not just checking off a box and saying, well, we held a meeting and everybody screamed and we kept going the way we were going to go anyway, but what is your track record in actually incorporating the public's comments? So I just want to really emphasize that we are really at the beginning, the very beginning of this process, that we intend to be very public and very transparent as we go forward.
Thank you both for your efforts in clarifying that, so thanks. Anybody else? Come on up.
Good evening. Daniel Burgess from Luzerne Street. I want three very brief points. I wanted to thank Trustee Rosen Escher for suggesting the neurodiversity training. It's so important to include people with disabilities who are still often excluded. Since you just talked about the affordable housing, that's so important for people with disabilities as well, and the people who support them. Thank you for that, and very supportive of the affordable housing plans. Number two is, you were talking about the steep slope has been, is quite complicated, and I've heard from some neighbors who just think it's like, they're just express. It's a way of just allowing more development, it's difficult. And I'm just wondering, is there like a way to communicate to the village and the residents what it's about and intended, and to make it understandable? Hearing the discussion, that's challenging. So. And finally, the third point in relation to the resiliency presentation, which was very interesting, and it's great that the village is doing that. In 2005, and leading up to that, residents were working to protect open space, and in 2005, there was a resolution to demap 41 paper streets, and what we are facing now, that's, was kind of visionary at that time to protect the open space. How important it is to, keep those paper street protected in relation to the resiliency. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Why do you have to be last?
Because I want to remind everybody I only have 3 minutes. So what I'm giving you is a report that you haven't really asked for, but it's really going to be quick. The New York Housing Summit was a great success in Albany. We had 125 people from around the state who were all engaged in this stuff, plus a lot of people who didn't pay. It went very, very well, and Dobbs Ferry and the river towns were well represented. We had a lot of people there who were talking about exactly what's going on right now in this section of Westchester. The theme of the whole program was build more, faster, and better for everyone, emphasis on everyone, as well as more affordable for everyone. In Westchester, affordable housing can be needed for people who are making what would otherwise in other parts of the country be a really good income. Lots of people in Westchester are paying more than 50% of their income to live here. So we need to do things, and as Tracy pointed out really, really well, the only way you really solve that is to build more housing. Robert Rodriguez, Keisha Sanchez, and Paul Byer are 3 state officials. That's our Secretary of State, the Deputy Secretary of State, and the Director of Smart Growth are all very, very aware of what's happening in Westchester. And one of the good news things, particularly with the idea of what we're trying to do with affordable housing, is there are 2 new funding sources available, which we should jump on as quick as we can for this. Basically, one of them is a tremendous amount of money that's been allocated to the Mid-Hudson region, specifically for projects that engage with housing. And the other one is another funding program that's also focused very much on the communities that make a commitment to helping solve the housing program. And the numbers they're talking about is like $10 million to a community. And I've given the information. I think, Rob, you've got the stuff I sent, hopefully? at some point. Don't put him on the spot. But I think this is a really great opportunity. I was going to say things about steep slopes, but I'll put that in a 40 or 50-page white page here instead. And the thing I enjoyed
Have
most.
that by tomorrow.
Or later tonight. One thing that got discussed tonight, I thought was really great, we're talking about the pride flag concept. I don't think it belongs in the middle of an intersection. The idea of having the crosswalks on the aqueduct be that theme, I think is brilliant. I think that would really be a great concept because you want to call attention to those because people need to understand that these are crosswalks, people riding bikes, walking on the aqueduct. I think there's nothing that I think would be more interesting than to do that with the pride concept. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Okay. If there's nothing further, let's move on to resolutions.
We need to check on Zoom for courtesy of the floor.
What?
We need to check on Zoom for courtesy of the floor.
Yeah, who has that? Who would be doing that? Who can tell us if anyone from courtesy of the floor is appearing virtually?
Is there anybody, Lori Lee, can you check and see the attendees if anybody's got their hands up? Not that you can promote them? You can't see?
No one.
Okay.
Wait, there's some,
Can Christina look?
There's no one.
Rob, do you see anybody?
No, maybe
What
Christina
does
has
that say?
the computer.
A
Participant has,
ended closed caption recording.
Okay.
All right, let's just move on. So, action item number 1 is to consider a resolution accepting the retirement of Police Sergeant Jerry Culper. Police Sergeant Culper has submitted a resignation effective January 26, 2024. We're sorry to see him go, but is there a resolution to accept the retirement of Police Sergeant Jerry Culper?
What if we don't?
Mr. Mayor?
You have to keep working.
Just an update on that, his rank is actually police detective, so I can make that adjustment to the reso.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the retirement of Police Detective Jerry Culper? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor. That passes unanimously. Action item number 2 is to consider a resolution to reopen Section 384-D of the Retirement and Social Security Law for Gabrielle Bonilla as set forth in Chapter 659 as the law of the laws of 2023.
What,
This is, Laura Lee, you can clarify, but I think this is a pension error that was made quite a
Yes.
while ago, right?
Correct. This is the last
You're on
step
mute.
in the home rule
Although I can
request.
hear you next door, but I can't hear you here.
Oh, I don't.
hold on. Maybe it's.
1 second, Lori Lee.
Maybe that's why we couldn't hear Rob before either.
No, he was on mute.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you next door, but I can't hear you.
It's something in the boardroom. If you
Um,
can hear me, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
In the boardroom or
Because I
next
can
door?
hear you.
Oh, now we hear you,
Now.
Lori Lee.
Laura
Okay.
Lee.
To the rescue.
This is the final, thanks, Liz. This is the final step in your home rule request. This was necessitated by an error. He was put into the wrong retirement by a predecessor, not by Mr. Chuda. Absolutely not. We are correcting an error that was made. And this is the final step where you have to, after they give you permission, now you have to actually accept the additional costs associated with putting him in the correct retirement pool.
And we don't know the official cost yet? Is that some kind of a calculation, or do we know?
I cannot answer that.
But we don't have a
Choice, it
so,
sounds like.
right.
In years, right?
Yeah, it's been years.
You-
Years.
Yeah, you made
Yeah,
a home rule request about 2 years ago,
yeah.
Right.
and he was put into a retirement with smaller years, and now he's going into a larger pool retirement. So there is going to be ramifications in the budget. Jeff is well aware of the ramifications and has taken that into consideration and has been doing that all along since we made the request.
Okay, so is there a motion to assume additional costs required to provide the reopening of Section 384-D of the retirement system? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 3 is to consider a resolution to schedule a public hearing for February 27th to consider a local law amending the definition of income in Chapter 273, Article 2, tax exemptions. We had this item on as a public workshop. We decided to proceed with this. In order to do so, we have to schedule a public hearing. So is there a motion to schedule a public hearing for February 27th, 2024 at 7:30 to address this issue? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously, and it'll be put on for February 27th. Action item number 4 is to consider a resolution instructing draft zoning code revisions be referred to the planning board for review and recommendation. So in the earlier workshop, we discussed some zoning code revisions, and we were okay with them in the draft form that they were. We decided to send it off to the relevant, it should be just more than the planning board, it should be the relevant boards.
That's why it says made available, because in some cases, they don't have a formal resolution, like the tree commission doesn't, you know what I mean? So we'll send copies to the relevant and interested boards for each of the topics.
But the resolution I'm reading right here says refer to the planning board for review and recommendations.
And otherwise made available to other interested boards, committees, and commissions.
In the text of it, I guess.
Okay. So is there a
Sorry.
motion? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 5 is the RFQ. So as, I can't say it any clearer than what Tracy and Rob said, so rather than go forward on, talk about it for any further, we've decided to move forward on trying to make Dobbs area a more affordable place for people to live. And as already outlined, we've put forth this RFQ calling for notice and distribution to best serve the purpose of that. So is there a motion to put out the RFQ as outlined in the RFQ itself? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Gallen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you, Tracy, and your whole committee for that.
And just before we move on, is Valerie still on? Or perhaps, Rob, you could explain how people can access this and the RFQ?
Valerie's actually gone, she had a conflict, but she has instructed me that she'll be working with PACE to make this distribution to as wide a pool as possible. In recent, I guess about 2 weeks ago, I also sent a number of emails and instructional information through the administrator's office in terms of making it far and wide. We'll make it available on the website, and we'll also be looking at listservs specifically related to the affordable housing development community.
And we'll have copies in Village Hall too.
Yeah, I just want to say also, it looks like we have a site visit planned for March 4th for all people who are interested in this. Rob, is that what I'm looking at here? March 4th at 10 o'clock, the site visit will begin at Village Hall?
Right, for those who are interested, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Is, Lori Lee, may I ask, is there I know there are probably myriad complications from this, but are we required to publish this in the newspaper of record, which currently does not exist?
No, the backup newspaper of record is the Journal News.
Oh, we have a backup, okay.
And I do recommend a press release, and I will be working with the village in order to get a press release out and a legal notice published, and all of the necessary steps to get this going.
Okay, and we should be clear that it is the 99th Street parking lot and the 2 vacant Cedar Street parcels that are included in the RFQ.
Under consideration, one or both or all 3.
Okay, and we should also make it clear that the responses are to be submitted no later than 3 o'clock on March 22nd, 2024.
I'm sorry, just to clarify what Lori Lee said, it could be 1, both, all 3, or none. This is not an obligation or a process that is moving forward other than to examine the issue.
Right. Although somebody who's not interested in any of them probably wouldn't respond.
And if the village is not interested in anybody who responds, they are not obligated to choose. They're not obligated. in any way to take on the project. This is just simply an inquiry to see who might be interested in working with the village as a partner, as Tracy so eloquently explained.
Right, it's not a proposal, just qualifications.
Correct.
Okay, action item number 6 is to consider a resolution to authorize the village administrator to execute a public-private partnership agreement with the Jazz Forum Arts in connection with the 2024 Dobbs Ferry Summer Music Series. We've been doing this, it seems like forever.
20
The
years.
best
I think.
part,
20
it's one of
years.
the best part of Dobbs
Dobbs
Ferry.
Ferry.
Yes, so this year it'll be 8 concerts on Wednesday evenings, and the cost would be $8,000. So is there a motion to approve this? Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Action item number 7 is to consider a resolution to accept $200 from a generous village resident. So we really do appreciate this gift. We appreciate all gifts. So is there a resolution to accept a $200 donation from a generous village resident? Trustee Taylor, second trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. And action item number 8, we are also considering a donation for a bench from our own trustee Rosen Asher, who has dedicated $4,500 to the village of Dobbs Ferry for the purchase and installation of a bench at Waterfront Park. Jerry, we appreciate it. Is there anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, I'm donating this bench in honor of my mother, who passed away in May, whose favorite part of Dobbs Ferry was going to see those jazz concerts every summer. We went almost every single week. We were here for over 20 years together, and I wanted her to be able to have a spot in her favorite spot of the village that she called home for over 20 years, and it's going to be someplace where we could gather to remember her. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. I can imagine how emotional it is, and we appreciate it, and I think it's a wonderful gift. Is there, I don't think Sherry can vote on this, correct? So is there a motion to accept the donation for a bench at Waterfront Park? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor. That passes 6 votes to 1 abstention. Thank you again, Sherry. Action item number 9 is to consider a resolution approving a budget amendment for the purchase of a 2024 Chevrolet Silverado utility truck for the fire department. I know that on January 9th, 2024, we approved the purchase of the truck, but now it's more of a bookkeeping item where we have to move it from one part of the budget to another. So is there a motion to approve the budget amendment as outlined in the amendment itself? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Taylor, all in favor? That passes unanimously.
I can't wait for the next resolution about this truck.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Is there a motion approving the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? That passes unanimously. I have to add a few items to the agenda. I'm adding action item number 11, which is the site plan application for 83 Main Street. Is there a motion to add this item to the agenda? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? Well, passes unanimously, so it's now added to the agenda as action item number 11. And is there a motion to declare Dobbs Ferry, the village of Dobbs Ferry, as the lead agency for the environmental review of the project as an unlisted action in accordance with SECRA, and that the village of Dobbs Ferry hereby directs that the site plan application be referred to the Dobbs Ferry Planning Board for review and comment and recommendation, and that the Board of Trustees directs that the site plan application be referred to the Westchester County Planning Board as required by general municipal law. Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Galen, all in favor? That passes unanimously. I have a couple of other items. As we were going to discuss this in the workshop, but we didn't have time, I'm adding the discussion regarding the aqueduct striping behind Village Hall to this item. I know that we have received proposals and a picture of what they would look like.
So this was, just for some color for this, in 2018, there was a study done, a traffic and parking study done, and one of the recommendations was to provide safer crossings at the tree streets for, along the aqueduct. Those included, and they're in the drawings, they included some signage, so that people who are going along the aqueduct could recognize that they were crossing streets. It included some daylighting of the area around the crossing, so that people weren't just sort of appearing from between parked cars, which can be easily done at low cost with paint. And there was a further very good suggestion to put some striping along the two parking lots behind Village Hall and continuing along to Cedar Street, so that it was clear that the aqueduct continued along that path before being picked up in its normal dirt, root, and rock form on the other side of Cedar Street. So the discussion is, do we want to do that? If so, you know, there are a lot of different ways to do that. In addition, as I mentioned before, Trustee Galen, along with Administrator Emuter and I, and Chief Guevara, Officer Colvin, and Officer Posnick, who's the liaison to the Traffic Committee, also looked at the crossing location for the aqueduct on Cedar Street, and the consensus was that there should be a marked crossing across Cedar Street at that point, and a stop sign at Cedar Street to make that crossing safe. So that's the parameters of the conversation are a little bit wider than was listed in the agenda, but that's the whole schmagegi.
So can we have the cost of this whole schmagegi? We have any idea how much that would be?
We need like a formal, I mean.
This is not a resolution. We just have
Right.
No, this is
We need a
just a
plan,
discussion.
like.
Do we have any
for-
idea how much this would cost?
Isn't the aqueduct state property, so do we need to get any other approval for that? Because it's a
The one-
state park?
I'm not sure. It's paint we're putting down on pavement that exists on, I
our
mean, that it
village.
is,
But
it is on.
It is coexistent
Yeah.
with the aqueduct, yeah.
So I don't know if we need,
So this conversation has come up many times before, and I'm not saying I'm against it, but the argument against doing this has always been that when you put these crosswalks in, you lose parking spots on either side. And so
Well-
I know on Cedar Street, they put in crosswalks and we didn't have that issue, so I don't know if that was talked about or not, but that if we lose 4 spots on every tree street, we have to think about what the implications of that are. Or if we can do it without losing those parking spots.
Yeah, I think we probably, my sense was that is kind of like a back of the envelope, like, oh, if you add a crosswalk, you're gonna lose a bunch of
Yeah.
spots. And I think like, we probably need to do some kind of, I mean, we have some kind of traffic study that was done that informed the traffic committees.
that had
report.
dimensions,
Yeah, it's a
although I think it contemplated doing it with something that was more substantial than paint.
I'm just saying we already have a problem on those
I-
streets.
I believe- somebody else may be able to correct me, but I believe that there already is no parking for some area where the aqueduct crosses those
There
streets.
is, but it's very little, and it's actually very hard to see people who are crossing when you're going up the hill, just because of the sight line. So you're going up the hill, the cars are there, and, you know, you just don't see people. So there
My
is.
point is,
Larry,
we may not lose as many parking spaces because there already is some area blocked out.
I mean, I think we
I
need,
think we will.
we need
It's 4 spots.
to deal with the Main and Cedar intersection, which is like kind of its own nut to crack, I think. Because we also don't have a curb cut at the aqueduct crossing right now. So this is a bigger schmagegi, I think, than the rest of it, which is like striping in our lots, assuming we have permission to do that, to me is a no-brainer. Striping across Oak, Elm, Chestnut, and Walnut, those are not marked parking spots. So I don't know that we have any additional requirements regarding, you know, any kind of loss of parking spots. So, I mean, but I think we need to get official answers on those questions. So I don't know what the next.
So Rob, can you reach out to the Aqueduct, the New York State Parks on that issue? I know you have a relationship with someone there.
Yeah, Linda Cooper is now, she's a higher up on the parks. We met her regarding the parking lot in the back on the drainage issues. She is a point person, and if need be, there is a simple application. It's electronic. If need be, I'll ask if we need it. And if we need it, I'll put it in.
Okay, and I don't really want to pay for the commission of a parking study on this, but there's a
We have a
reference.
parking study on
I'm
this.
just going to say, there's reference to a 2018 study. So if you could get that study, please, and then we can look at it, and then we can see how much parking spots we do lose, if any, and
I think the shared painting on the Oak Street lot and the one behind Village lot, I'm probably calling them the wrong things, but that makes sense, and we should be able to do that without hesitation.
Yeah, the more complicated question is the crossing. So when you say crossing, do you mean so right now, what happens, if I'm driving down at 8 o'clock in the morning, kids are crossing at the exit to that parking lot. They're not walking down and going to the crossing guard, and, you know, the
That's
crossing
right.
guard's always throwing our arms up
And
in
they
the
do
air.
that after school.
They do it after school. I don't see that part, so are you saying put a crossing mat at that location? Or are you saying because that, if we were to do that, the stop sign is further
Right.
down the
We
street?
need to have the chief as part of this because we identified a location that the chief thought would be safe.
But I also think it is a bigger, like, I don't want to overcomplicate this, but if, like, the direction you're talking about is terrible, and
Right.
coming from Maine onto Cedar is terrible, the visibility is quite limited, and certainly coming up from Palisade Street to that intersection. I mean, when we were on this walk with half of the police officers in the department, we almost got hit by a giant truck. So, you know, they didn't even see them. Like,
Okay, so
and
let's
I
go-
think where the stop sign goes vis-a-vis all of these different visibility issues, vis-a-vis the aqueduct crossing that
Okay,
people
so,
are actually using instead of the one that no one is using.
Right.
Like, it seems like a bigger,
all right, so let's put it on for another workshop item, but with the benefit of the 2018 study, with Rob's contact with the state parks, and with the chief being present.
let's have just a Google Earth photo and a couple of markings of where, like option 1 and option 2, whatever you're proposing,
I'm sure the traffic committee has that ready to go.
Yeah, it's probably better than that. Okay.
Okay,
Sounds good.
and next item for discussion would be the neurodiversity training. And I know, Shari, you had attended a meeting on this, and you also provided us some good information. So do you want to expand upon it?
Sure. So the town of Bedford undertook training for all of their employees and also welcomed in local businesses. And this training is done by the Anderson Center for Autism. And the training can be done online or in person and is to help make people who have public contact more understanding and more sensitive to people who are neurodivergent, which includes people on the autism spectrum, people with dyslexia, ADHD. It's a whole series of things. And it is a program not dissimilar to the Sunflower program that airports use, where someone could have a lanyard with a sunflower on it, and the airport employees understand that that is somebody who may need some extra care. They do not have to divulge their disability. They don't have to say anything, but it's kind of a signal. With this program, it's a very inexpensive training. It comes to about $15 a person. And it gives people a little more tools in their arsenal on how to deal with this. It also goes in line with the Human Rights and Diversity's statement that Dobbs Ferry is a welcoming and affirming place. And when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, one of the biggest groups of people that gets left out of the conversation sometimes are people with disabilities. And if you are a person with what we call a hidden disability, then things could be even tougher. This program comes with the training, and there's different training, so that they do a different training for government officials than they do for merchants and store owners and things like that. But then you kind of get a decal that you could put in your window, and that is a sign that says to somebody, you're welcome here, and we understand, and we're not going to judge you for it or treat you differently. And I think that it would be a wonderful step for Dobbs Ferry to take. As far as I know, Bedford's the only town in Westchester that has done this. I do know that working to try to bring this to the county executive for something that's countywide, because this is something that is important to me, that we make sure that everything is welcoming and accessible to people who think different or look different or have different abilities. So I did forward some information, and I'm happy to get someone from the town of Bedford to talk to us, or the legislator Erica Pierce, who helped set this up. But I would hope that it'd be something that we would consider, because this is something that's very prevalent, and if people don't feel welcome, they won't go in. But that would be like a sign to say you're welcome here.
Okay, I think it's a program that we should definitely move forward with, and if everyone else agrees, then we can have Rob contact the people that Shari has identified, and we can move forward with it. So does the rest of the trustees feel that way?
I think it's important.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shari. And yes, Rob, we want to move forward with it, so you could take the appropriate action working with Shari on that?
Okay, will do.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. And the last item is a discussion regarding a meet and greet opportunities with trustees. I know when we, especially when we ran for reelection, we were out about meeting everyone, and we thought it would be a good idea to make it less formal and less, people feel that there's a lot of pressure coming here and talking to us. So we just wanted to open up some opportunities for people to come and meet and discuss things, sort of like with the coffee with the police officer and other type of things like that. So are we all in agreement with doing that? You are fine with that? Mike, you feel?
Yeah, we
Okay.
did that a few years ago as a town hall. It worked really well.
Okay, so I know last time we sent out like a doodle thing to sign up on. I think, what was the idea, to do every other Saturday?
I think I really strongly feel that we should shoot for every 4 to 6 weeks to start out, and then let's see how we do.
I agree.
So
And how many
what-
people come?
So can we pick a date now, you think, or?
March 2nd was the
I
date
can't
that we
do
had.
March 2nd, so.
Well,
Well,
I
we're not
think
talking about all of us
we had
either,
said, like,
because-
Right, but I would like to be at the first one,
we
so.
had said like two trustees at each meeting at least, and obviously more people can come, but we're guaranteeing two. So is there another Saturday that you'd like to look at, Mr. Mayor?
Can we do this over email?
I could do more, no, that's what happened.
Oh.
March 9th was fine with me.
I will not be here, but I do not need to be.
All right, is
Somebody else
anybody,
can
could
attend
two
with
other
you.
people be there?
Yeah, I can go to March
Okay.
9th.
Shari, you okay on March 9th if you had to?
I could do the next one in April, so.
Wait, what do we do, March 2nd?
9th.
March 9th. Okay, I will make sure everyone has a way.
It could just be just Jessica and the mayor, the first one too. You don't have to have three.
Wait, what date, Jessica?
March 9th.
Because Matt and I were signed up already, and then do it.
Signed up ready for what? I didn't
Oh,
see a
we-
doodle.
It was a
Yeah.
Google sheet.
It was.
Yeah,
I
the
didn't see
Google
that.
sheet.
I didn't see it. That's why I didn't respond, just so everyone's clear. Not because I didn't want to participate.
Okay, I'm
I
starting.
could do March 2nd.
March 9th.
No, he wants-
Nine.
The mayor wants to be at the
It's
first
my
one.
anniversary weekend,
So
but
don't do the first one, then you do the second one with me.
Okay,
So
I'm not doing the first
Vinny
one.
and I'll do March
Right.
9th.
I could do March 9th.
Okay.
Okay.
And and we would like to do it in different business locations.
yep, we're gonna
So
be
diner
reaching
for
out
me, since that's right by
to
my house.
many different establishments in order to make sure that we are getting all over the village.
Yes. Spreading coffee money around.
Liz, I think this may be the parking study that you found so quickly.
I don't, I'm just searching if there was one previous, because that's dated 2022, but,
Oh, well, the 2022 would have been from the, actually redoing the parking. There was
The parking.
Right.
the 2018 one,
I'm sorry, what?
there was a grant. I can get it
10,
from
11.
Rob Barron.
yeah, okay,
Let's
okay.
say 10.
I'm sure if I
Tell your
didn't
own
have,
either.
if I hadn't lost power on my
10 to
computer, I have it
11?
now.
Yeah.
10 to 11?
It's in the calendar.
Okay, due to the late hour, I'd like to skip the liaison reports, but if someone has something to announce going forward, then I'd like to hear that. So do you have anything that's on the calendar that we should know about? Trustee Galen?
Nope.
Trustee Rosenberg?
There is just one thing I want to point out, and I hope that everybody saw in email. There were a couple of memos that were sent by the traffic committee that were intended to sort of inform what we are thinking about in terms of budgeting for next year. Usually, budgeting sort of comes to us from Jeff and the administrator, but there are some, policy implications to how we budget and what we should be considering that don't necessarily bubble up from all of our various committees. So the traffic committee has sort of tried to set an example by saying, here are some things we should do. Hopefully they can be assimilated into the budgeting process. I think if there are other committees that have priorities that that will cost money that they want to be considered, that's something that should happen.
Yeah, Rob, we'll talk about that more, but I do think if, like what Matt was saying, if, for instance, Sustainable Westchester wants to spend some money, they should come to you and come to us so we could take that into consideration. The same is true for any other. We met with the Human Rights Committee last night, and they had some suggestions. So I told them to put together something to send to us so we know how much money they'd like to spend. So, yeah, that would be a great idea.
Do you want me to reach out to them?
Yeah. We could, send me a draft of an email that says, hey, the budget's coming up. I don't want to invite people to spend money, but if they have stuff in specifically that they would like to address, we'd like to know that.
Right, please prioritize.
Right. Nicole, do you have anything?
I think it's tomorrow, maybe Rob can correct me, there's a senior Valentine's Day lunch. I think it's tomorrow. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. I looked at it the other day, but I don't remember.
Tomorrow is
It
Valentine's
may,
Day.
we may
Gonna
have
get your
missed
plan
it.
together.
I think we may have missed it, but, Rob, do you know when the seniors Valentine's Day is?
I don't get
Lunch?
any info about the
Uh,
seniors, even though I'm supposed to be the
I do not.
last. On their memos.
Right. If we could
I
find
saw it
that
at the
out.
rec commission
Yeah.
meeting because it had a calendar. It should be on the rec page, Rob.
Okay. Shara, do you have anything?
And we met with the Human Rights and Diversity Committee, so we're just discussing plans for follow-ups to the community survey and some other topics. That's it.
We would like to go forward with that. They've put a lot of time and energy on it, and we'd like to make sure that we can work with what their findings were. So, yes, that would be great. Mike, do you have anything?
No, I think we spent a lot of time tonight already on the things I've been working on.
Larry, do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay, so is there a motion to close tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosen, Asher. Second, Trustee Taylor, all in favor. Meeting is hereby adjourned.